Hello everyone and welcome to another video and what is another episode of running games at low internal resolutions with DLSS 4 upscaling. Today it's the turn of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I'm absolutely loving this game, the story is great, the characters are solid, it looks fantastic and it runs well. It's a combination that we don't often get to experience much these days. A decent game that's also well optimised. What is this rare phenomenon? I'm playing it with an RTX 3050, an 8GB model, not the newer 6GB cut down card. It runs with over 60 frames per second at the medium preset with SMAA 2TX enabled by default. The experience is pretty smooth as well with consistent frame times. If we want to use a higher visual preset like Ultra, then we'll need to make use of DLSS, and it'll need to be set to the performance mode for at least 60 FPS. Graphically, the game will look better, but I'm not sure the sacrifice to the overall clarity is worth it. To be honest though, an internal 960 by 540 doesn't look too bad. I briefly tried the experimental mode, which is intended for the most powerful hardware out there, as well as future releases, and with the 3050 we got like 30 frames per second. A few more frames than that with DLSS enabled, but it was rather stuttery. Personally, I'd rather play at medium with native 1920 by 1080, but again, I couldn't help but wonder if adding the latest version of DLSS to this game would make the upscaling experience easier on the eyes. There's no ultra performance mode, just performance, which will render internally at 960 by 540, as mentioned before. I think it looks alright, but my experience with other games leads me to believe that KCD2 should benefit visually from DLSS 4, even though we may lose a few frames. Of course, to enable it we need the NVIDIA app. I have the latest version as well as the latest 572.16 driver, which I did a clean install of a while back. Within the app we need the graphics tab. Kingdom Come didn't appear until I refreshed the program list. After that it said updating before telling me the settings couldn't be retrieved for some reason. The DLSS override option also said support not detected, but yeah, I could still click it and I could still choose the latest option. What a mess. Hopefully your NVIDIA app is behaving itself because mine certainly isn't at the moment. It should say use the 3D application setting next to the DLSS override option by default, but as I said, even though mine stated support not detected, I could change it anyway. Nonetheless, we should now have the latest DLSS version in game. It's pretty easy to tell it's working because we are already looking sharper overall and performance has dipped ever so slightly. Not by much though. We've gone from a 65 FPS average with the Ultra preset and the default DLSS model set to performance to 61 FPS with the new DLSS model and percentile lows that haven't really moved. It's a similar story to what we've seen in other games, a slight performance loss but overall sharper visuals with less ghosting around certain objects and a reduction in flickering and jagged edges. Let's look at some side-by-side captures. The first is a zoomed in shot of Henry standing in this lovely meadow. The differences probably aren't as noticeable with an uploaded compressed video, but one thing in particular that stood out to me was the reduced ghosting around the people that walked by. I also noticed less jagged edges around distant objects. Truth be told though, even the default DLSS implementation is very good. It's hard to fault, especially at this res. The next shot is of a home in the village. The weather vane on top of the roof has less flicker, I guess, but again both captures look good. Considering this is upscaled 960 by 540, I can't complain too much. The differences are definitely harder to pick up in this one, but overall there seems to be increased clarity even with the performance DLSS preset. Pushing the game to Ultra probably isn't the best idea, especially as we'll need the most aggressive form of DLSS to hit 60 FPS, but it definitely doesn't look too bad, especially if you want to implement a newer version of DLSS for yourselves. To be honest, I'd probably rather stick with medium at native res, but it's entirely up to you and it's certainly fun to mess around with. I hope you've enjoyed this video and of course I hope it's helpful. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.